Hey, what's up everyone, how you all? So today we are going to learn how to use Photoshop. If you are already a PS Touch customer, we all know what PS Touch or PSCC, it's our favorite application on Android. We use for every kind of creative purpose, formatting esport thumbnail to making branding, it's limitless. So we are going to start with basics. If you want to make a project in Photoshop Touch, we have to make a blend document with this side, and later okay, here is our project with that side. Although if you open Photoshop on PC, we have to click on create new or just go to files and new, and we have all the templates. We can choose our width, which will be 1920, and our height, which will be 1080, and pixels, we are going to choose pixels. There are other measurements like inches, centimeters, and all type of stuff, and we have a resolution. You don't have to worry about any of these. I prefer using 16-bit. 16-bit is a color depth. 16-bit will have better colors, better dark and light colors. So let's just click on create, and here you go, we have our blank canvas. We have a black layer here. We don't really want this, so let's create an empty layer and click this one and click on OK. So yeah, it's same as PS Touch. So let's assume we want to import an image. We can import an image by clicking here and import any of the image like this. Here you go. But on Photoshop Touch, there's no option like that. We have to go to files and then import, and there are variable file types, or the way I like it, open file explorer and import any of the image you want, like this video of mine. Just click in and drag it to Photoshop. It's simple. Click here and it's done. Pretty simple. And let's assume you don't want to create a project. You directly want to import an image like this on PS Touch. How can we do that? It's also the similar way. Just click on that image and without creating new project, drag it here. Here you go. And the advantage of Photoshop versus Photoshop Touch is you can open multiple Photoshop files once. Like here you go, I have 3 projects open, and we can also drag and drop files from one project to other. It's super simple. And let's start from tools. Marcus Brown. It's Marcus Brown. It's Marquee tool. Marquee selection tool, as we have on our PS Touch. It's both rectangle and circle. You have to click and hold it, and you can select any of these, just like that. And then we have our lasso tools and polygon tools. Here we have our lasso tool and polygon tool. It works the same way. You can see it's the same as PS Touch or PSCC. To deselect it, all you have to do is click Control or Command D on your keyboard, and then we have our favorite magic wand. And whenever you are going to click on any of these tools, there will be a small tutorial like what does that tool do, which will be quite helpful. and if you click and hold this, there are other tools. Unlike PS Touch, we have object selection tool. It's quite a useful tool. You have to select your layer, and if we want to select this, well, this is my client though, all we have to do is touch it, and we have a very good selection of him. It's super useful. And again, to deselect you have to click Ctrl D, and it's deselect. And then we have our brushes. We have our brushes and clone tool. It's clone tool, pattern stamp tool. We have eraser here. There are many types of eraser like magic eraser tool. You don't have to worry about this if you are just going to learn the basics of Photoshop. And all type of tools like dodge tool, blur tool, everything like that we have on our PS Touch. You can learn many of these tools by watching other videos. Basically, you don't need to know every tool over here. So let's go to this section, because we always have our layers on the right hand side in PS Touch, but it's not the same case on Photoshop PC. Maybe you don't have a layer panel, like your Photoshop looks like this, so you would wonder, where's my layer panel? Because we always have layer panel on our right side in PS Touch, but it's not the same case here. Then you don't have to worry about anything. Just click on Window, Workspace, and Essential. There are options like changing the blend mode to like screen overlay or something. I can't really show you that right now, but you know how it works, right? And if you're going to end section on our PS Touch, there are tools like crop tool, which can easily crop your image like this. We have similar tool, crop tool here, and yeah, it works pretty similarly, but we have way more options here. Like we can change the ratio and everything like that. And there is a thing like we call it smart objects. We don't have smart objects on PS Touch, but we do have on Photoshop PC. You might be wondering, what is smart object? Smart object is basically a project inside a project. It's the most simplest way to I can explain. Like, let's convert this into smart object, and then we can double click on this one, double click on this layer, and we are inside this layer, and this is a separate project. Okay, and we can change anything here. Like we can take a brush, and create an empty layer and brush it over here, and just Ctrl S to save it. And if we go to previous layer, here you go, it'll change this layer over here. Okay. And due to smart objects, some features of Photoshop might not work, because it will only work on rasterized images. Rasterized images are like normal images we have on our PS Touch, which are destructible. For example, if I scale it down, this image on our PS Touch, like here, and again scale it up like this, you can see the quality decrease. Like quality decreases so much. Previously it was looking like this, and now it looks like this. And smart objects prevent that. As you can see, if I decrease it down like this, and then it will increase it, the quality doesn't decrease a bit. It's the same quality. And to rasterize this, all you have to do is go to layer panel, right click, and then click on rasterize. Now if we decrease this like here, okay, and again increase this, you can see the sudden quality drop. It looks worst. And there's no undo and redo button like on our PS Touch. So how can we do this? To undo anything, you have to click Ctrl Z, and to redo that, you have to press Ctrl Shift Z. It's super easy. You will use to that Ctrl Z and Ctrl Shift Z. So let's undo this brush hint. And image size. Image size is another important tool in Photoshop. And to use it on Photoshop, like on Photoshop PC, you have to go to image panel and then image size. Now you can see we have size of the image. You can change this to any size you want. And then on test tool, how can we write test on Photoshop? Because test tool on Photoshop Touch sucks, because we can import any font on Photoshop Touch, but we can do that on Photoshop PC. So just go over here on T tool, or you can just type T on your keyboard and click anywhere to write anything. There you go. And to change that color, you have to go here and pink. Okay, you see nothing have changed because nothing is selected. You have to select this again, like this, and then again go to color tool and change this color to anything you like, and just click on OK. And come back here, move tool. You can also do this by clicking V, and you might need this transformation. What we call it, I don't know what we call it, but you might need these handles. So you have to match so transform. So you have to match so transform controls are clicked on, and then we have wrap tool. We have perspective on Photoshop, but to easily wrap something, you can just go over here, click control, and move it like this. It's super easy. And gradient tool. There are many ways to use gradients on Photoshop. One is gradient tool. Click here. We have gradient tool over here. G for gradient. Okay, let's create an empty layer by clicking here. We have an empty layer, and by clicking here we can create a custom gradient. This is one end of that gradient and this is other, and the lowers are colors and uppers are opacity. We have 100% opacity over here and 0% over here. We can slide this up by clicking on opacity and moving it left to right. It works on almost all Adobe softwares, so yeah, it's super convenient. then click over here and move it like this. Just click on the title and slide it over left to right, and let's choose our color. Like we can change this to white, it might be nice, and let's click OK. And yeah, let's give it a gradient. It sucks, but yeah, you know how it looks. So let's move this layer behind this layer, and remember we change our color blend to screen, so it is screen. Let's again turn it to normal, and let's start about fade tool because there is no fade tool on PC version. For the PC version, all you have to do is go here. This is layer mask. Layer mask is basically the white part of layer mask is everything which is visible, and the black part is everything which is not visible. Go to this layer part, and you can use anything like this brush. Let's choose black color. These are two colors, primary and secondary. You can switch between them by X. You can choose any primary and any secondary color you want. And as I told you, the black part is not visible, so if we paint this with black, not this layer, the mask layer, it won't be visible. And again, if we switch by clicking X and paint it, it will be visible again. So we can use this to fade anything. Like let's make a custom gradient with opacity 0 and color black, because as I told you, black is not visible. You can see the black part was not visible, so it faded up. It's super convenient. And we also have shapes in Photoshop. We can create this shape, and there's an important feature of masking. Like if we move this shape behind this image, we can mask it. Just go between these two layers and click Alt. Now the upper layer will be only visible to the part of lower layer, if you know what I mean. And then we have effects. Like if we want to drop shadow this, we have to double click this layer, or you can go over here, effects, it's the same thing. Double click this layer, and there are tons of effects. Like let's choose our test and give it some effects. First one is a bevel one. It gives a shadow and light to any of the object, and you can adjust any of these. It's super awesome. Second one is throat. We can choose the size of the throat, color of the throat, and choose if we want it inner, in the inside, or at the outside. Then we have inner shadow. Inner shadow is like if the object is hollow and it will cast shadow. And we can choose multiple effects, like multiple inner shadows to give depth. Then we have inner glow. We can again choose a color of this, as you can see. Then we have stain, color overlay. It is quite useful. It will basically fill the object, fill the layer, like whatever part is visible, to a color like red or anything like that. And then we have gradient overlay. It is same but with gradient. Like there are multiple gradients like this rainbow gradient we can use, and we can also move the gradient out like this. And then we have pattern overlay, drop shadow, we can customize our shadow, outer glow. You don't have to learn everything by just once looking at this video. You can watch this video multiple times. So let's choose a drop shadow, decrease the opacity a bit, increase the size, and click OK. As you draw anything, doesn't make any sense, but okay. Then we have stuff like dropping a layer. How can we duplicate this layer? One way of doing this is dragging this layer to plus button. It's, as you can see, this one is accidentally masking the lower layer, right? Just bring the arrow between any of two layers and click Alt to mask or demask it. As we are done, let's try to blur this font. Click on filters, and we have all the filters we'll ever need. Try to blur. We have many types of blurs like lens blur, Gaussian blur. Let's use our favorite Gaussian blur. It'll ask us if we want to convert it into smart object or rasterize it. I've already shown you the difference between two, so let's convert it to smart object, and we can change the blur of this one like this. And because it is a smart object, we can double click on this layer and again change this font to anything, right? Anything to sometime. We have to decrease the size of it. There you go. Control S to save it, and come back to our original project. As you can see, it is saved as sometime now. And then we have all the filters we might need, like if you want to decrease the saturation of this photo or make it black and white or anything, we can do everything from here. Like we can make an adjustment layer of hue and saturation. You might ask, what is an adjustment layer? It is a layer which will affect every layer below it. Like this layer is over here, it will affect every layer from here. And if we want to decrease the saturation of this, as you can see, it will affect every layer which is below this. It won't affect the upper layer like this one is still pink, as you can see. So we can adjust this like whatever we want. There are many options like levels, capture, vibrance, color balance, and many more. And then if we want to fill an empty layer with a color, how can we do that? It's super simple. Just select the color, whatever color you want. Like I want to use this red pink, and as this color is on foreground, create an empty layer by clicking here and click Alt plus backspace. There you go, an empty layer with pink fill color. And You might be wondering, it's all good, but how can we select an layer, right? How can we select an object like we used to do on PS Touch? So it is also super easy. We have to go to any that layer we want to make the selection of, like this anything layer, and click on control, press control plus click here. There will be an square showing on the cursor and click here. As you can see, we have the selection. Now we can choose anything like make in a gradient or anything. You know how it works. And again, control D to deselect it, V for move tool, and hopefully I'm not missing anything. And there are some basic stuff like copy paste. If you want to copy this and paste it, control C to copy, control V to paste. And if you want to delete anything, click on that object and hit delete and click here. Okay. We can also delete by clicking delete button on the keyboard like this. It's pretty easy. And we have many more on Photoshop PC, but for Photoshop PC contains a lot more than that, but you have to watch many more videos on this. But you don't have to worry, it's super easy. Just start from here and continue your journey. Let me know if you want another videos something like this. I know this is a super niche video and not a lot of people will watch this video, but that's pretty much all.